Weber County Commissioner. I don't have any snappy cheers. I probably should have had some. Last week I was feeling pretty down and depressed because it's an interesting event running for office. Recently we had a Meet the Candidates night with the 912 people, and I ended up staying a little bit long with Neil, making sure that he didn't get into some kind of a fisticuffs with a lady. And I ended up meeting with one of the two competitors that I have, the incumbent, Jan Zogmeister. And we had a nice little conversation, and she made a comment which was pretty interesting. She said, you know, everybody should have to run for office at least once. You know, there'd be a little bit less complaining by normal people, and they maybe get out and help a little bit more. And that's true, because it's a very interesting endeavor. One that I wasn't necessarily fully prepared with, and I must have had a much bigger ego than I really do have. But no, in going around and talking to members and citizens in the county and different committees up in the valley and whatnot, there have been a lot of different complaints people have made. One of the biggest, however, is a lot of citizens don't feel like the county commission actually represents them in any way, shape, or form. They don't believe that they have a voice in county government, and they're just kind of disgusted with the whole process. For example, some of the individuals I've met up with in the Ogden Valley, they want to expand the commission to a 7-member type situation, so they can have, you know, someone from their location be on the county commission. And they asked me my opinion, and I told them that that's a good idea, but if you only have one person trying to convince 3 other people of what you want, it's a lot harder than if you have at least one commissioner represent you. It just has to convince one other person. I do support an idea of taking the county commission seats that all are at large right now and creating it to where they're districts in the county, because honestly, the population base is in this little corridor, North Ogden, through Ogden to South Ogden, and then into Roy. All the outlining areas don't really matter for votes in general. I mean, I hate to say that, but I don't need to worry necessarily about the 4,000 or 5,000 votes up in the valley as long as I get enough in this corridor. So obviously the people in the valley, some of the people out in Taylor or Hooper, they don't feel like they're represented because they're not. They have concerns and nobody cares because they don't have to be accountable to them because they don't need their vote. And so I do think that the commission ought to create a system where you've got 3 seats that are geographical and population based. So one commissioner actually represents the valley and possibly, you know, some of the other more agricultural, rural type sections of the county, and then the other 2 seats are more of the population base, so that you have individuals that have to be accountable to their constituents. That's one of the biggest concerns. The other concerns that I've heard have to do with property taxes and making sure those are in line. As Weber County Commissioner, I would sit on the equalization board when people show up to complain about their property tax. And at the Weber County Fair and even at Roy Days, I'd have people come up and say, hey, my property tax went down, but half my neighbors 2 doors down, they all went up a ton of money. You know, and if you look at the little slip you get when you get your property taxes, read the little disclaimer where it talks about they're going to collect the same amount of money no matter what. So it's just a little calculation they do in their office as to how they're going to raise yours or reduce that person's, and it just doesn't seem like there's any common practice as to how they're going to value the property. There ought to be. There ought to be, this is how we do it, no matter what. And if the economy goes down and everybody's property values go down, then the county needs to figure out how to take care of that, as opposed to throwing that tax burden on unsuspecting citizens. It ought to be a balanced and fair approach to everyone, not just a couple people here, a couple people there, depending on where their votes are. And that's another problem that the citizens of the valley have. They've got some good property up there that's worth quite a bit, you know, but they don't have necessarily the voting power to make the commission responsible for jacking their fees up all the time, because they're never gonna have enough votes to get somebody out, so they're gonna always get abused that way. But those are some of the issues. There's other issues with the Powder Mountain, the accountability concerning the purchases. The county does have a purchasing agent and a buyer. They should be working their best to get the best deals for the county. There shouldn't be, I mean, I can understand 2 or 3 individuals in certain circumstance having a credit card, but the county has an ordinance that specifically tells people how they're supposed to use that, not have a clerk in the recorder's office every month going and paying full retail at Office Depot for $1,000 a month, when you have a purchasing agent that should be able to buy paper at a better deal than full retail. There's some of that cleanup that needs to be done, and that's about all I have for the morning. I haven't prepared anything, but I am going to start having some kind of a cheer so I feel better about myself. But I'll have to come with that later, so thank you.